Hi there, second graders. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice relaxing weekend with your families. Okay, so this week, like I mentioned in my video on Friday, it's going to be a little bit different because if you don't have a printer, you will not have these packets in front of you. So if you were able to print off the packet from our online distance learning folder, then you'll need to have that out and have it opened for Monday, March 30th. If you did not, then what you're going to need to grab is a pencil and some scrap paper so that you have something where you can solve the problems on. Now, as we're going through these problems, it's important that you don't waste your time copying the problems down, but instead use your paper to just solve it, to try to figure out the answer. All right, so let's get started. So it says, the first problem, Bill had 12 feathers to put into 3 boxes. He put the same number of feathers in each box. And then there's a picture here that shows you the 12 feathers and the 3 boxes. So our job is to figure out how many feathers will go in each box. Show your work. So I'm going to read that problem again for you, and it's up here on the screen. But I want you, as I'm reading it, you can start solving, and I want you to use a strategy that makes sense and also include a key and a number sentence. So, Bill had 12 feathers to put into 3 boxes. He put the same number of feathers in each box. How many feathers will go in each box? Show your work. So take some time, draw a key, write a number sentence, and solve. Take about another 20 seconds. Okay. So for this problem, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to draw a key, and in my key I'm going to have the number 12, 3, and question mark. Now, the number 12 represents the total feathers. Number 3 represents the boxes, and we have to figure out the number of feathers in each box. So that means that this is an equal group problem where we're taking the total amount of feathers, we're putting it into 3 groups, and our job is to figure out how many go in each group. So that would be represented by 12 divided by 3 equals something. Now, a problem like this, because I know my number of groups, the 3 boxes, I'm going to draw my groups. So there I have my 3 boxes, and now I'm going to add 1 to each box and continue counting until I get to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I drew tallies to represent each feather. So as you can see, I have 4 feathers in each of my boxes. So that means that 4 is our answer. Great. Let's get going on our next problem. This next problem says, write all of the remaining facts in the fact family. And the fact that it's given is 8 times 7 equals 56. So write all of the remaining facts in the fact family. 8 times 7 equals 56. I'll give you about 30 seconds. You can go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is a multiplication fact, which tells me that I'm going to set up my fact family like this with multiplication on one side and division on the other. I'm going to write down the multiplication fact that was given to me. 8 times 7 equals 56. And the next, the other multiplication fact in the fact family would be 7 times 8 equals 56. Now for division, just like subtraction, we always start with the total. So 56 is going to be the starting number in each of my division number sentences. So 56 divided by 7 equals 8, and 56 divided by 8 equals 7. There you have it. Moving on down here, we have a number line. Now, for those of you at home that are working on this, that do not have a copy of this in front of them, just take a look at mine up here on the screen. It says, which number does point Z best represent on this number line? Mark your answer. Point Z. So just like we've practiced over the past few weeks, our job is to make sure that we are labeling our number line before we even answer this question. So take a second to figure out how this number line is counting and label it. I'll give you about a minute. Okay, about 10 more seconds. All right, so hopefully you realize that this number line is counting by 25s, because to go from 100 to 125, that means I'm adding 25s. So I'm going to continue that pattern. 125 plus 25 is 150, and then 175, I'm at 200 now. And then from there, I'm going to go to 225, 250, 275, and then the 300. But I also need to label these numbers that came before, and in order to do that, I have to subtract 25. So 25 less than 100 is 75, 50, 25, and then 0. So going back to that question, what does point Z represent? Well, we just figured it out by labeling our number line. Point Z represents B, 275. Awesome. Now we're going to go to the next page. Just want to make sure you guys can see this okay. Awesome. For the next page, question 4 is asking us to compare the units of time. But it's not as simple as you might think, because these units of time are not just 1 week or 1 month, but it's talking about multiples of them. So that means that these units of times, the first one says 2 weeks. So in order for us to figure out if 2 weeks is the same, more than, or less than 15 days, we need to actually figure out how many days are in 2 weeks. So how many days are in 1 week? Hopefully you thought about 7. And so in 2 weeks, we have 14 days. So is 14 days bigger or smaller or equal to 15 days? It's smaller than, so I would use the less than sign to compare. So 2 weeks is less than 15 days. So you have to really think about when you're answering these, which one of these units you have to change or convert, which we would say in the older grades. So the next one says 2 minutes and 120 seconds. So we're going to do this one together, and then I'm going to have you do the last two by yourself. 2 minutes and 120 seconds. Well, how many seconds are in 2 minutes? Breaking that down even further, how many seconds are in 1 minute? Hopefully you're realizing it's 60. And so if I have 2 minutes, that means I have 60 plus 60. That's 120. So this represents 120 minutes. So is 120 minutes bigger than, less than, or smaller than 120 seconds? Oh, and I made a mistake here. I do this sometimes. 2 minutes does not equal 120 minutes. That doesn't make sense. It equals 120 seconds because there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So 120 seconds, is it bigger than, smaller than, or equal to 120 seconds? Hopefully you realize it's equal to. It's the same. So now I want you to take a stab at these two down here, figuring out which one is more, which one is less, and doing those conversions. So you have 1 year is what to 360 days, and 12 hours is what to 1 day. So take some time on your scrap paper, if you have the packet, and solve those two. Probably about 30 seconds. About 10 more seconds. Okay, let's go over this together. So 1 year is what to 360 days. I'm going to have to figure out how many days are in a year, and I know there are 365 days. So 365 days is bigger than, less than, or equal to 360. Well, it's bigger than, so I'm going to use the greater than sign to compare those. And then over here, 12 hours is what to 1 day? Well, how many hours are in 1 day? 24 hours. So 12 hours is bigger than, less than, or equal to 24 hours. It's less than, smaller. So there you have that. For the last question on our math today, it's all about this number. 481,035. Make sure you write that number down on your scrap paper if that's what you're using. 481,035. You have A, B, C, D, and E to answer, so we'll take this one at a time. How many digits does this number have? Stop and think and write down your answer. How many digits? Okay, this number has 6 digits. It has a ones, a tens, a hundreds, a thousands. Got to write smaller than that. A 10,000s and a 100,000s digit. Awesome. Now this next one says, what is the value of the digit in the 10,000s place? Go ahead and answer that. What is the value of the digit in the 10,000s place? Okay, hopefully you realize that the digit in the 10,000s place is 8. So that represents 8 groups of 10,000. So that has a value of 80 100,000. Awesome. The next one you're going to answer says, what is the digit in the hundreds place? Take about 10 seconds. Okay, hopefully you realize that the digit in the hundreds place is 0. There's a 0 in the hundreds place. What's the value of that 0? It's also going to be 0, but it asks for the digit. D, what is the place value of the 4? Think about that question. What is the place value of the 4? Now, a question like this is asking you for the place value, not asking you for the value, not asking you for the digit, but the name of the place value. So the 4 is in the hundred, thousands place. Now, I labeled this, and I did this really quickly. I labeled this number, and the reason why I labeled it is because it's a really helpful strategy. So if you got any of these wrong, make sure next time when you're answering questions about the digits and the values and the place values, you label each digit so you know what place value it's in. That'll help you a lot. The last thing that we have to do for this number, 481,035, is we have to put it in expanded form. So go ahead and take about 30 seconds and put this number in expanded form. About 5 more seconds. Okay, so if I was putting this number in expanded form, I'm starting with the 4 in the hundred thousands place. That represents 400,000. And now I'm adding my 10,000s place, which is 80,000. And then I'm adding my 1,000s place, which is 1,000. Then I'm adding my hundreds place, which is 0, so I'm not going to write anything for that. But my tens has 3, so that's 30, and I have 5 ones. So this is that number in expanded form. Awesome. Just like last week, if any of these problems were confusing, take a second and go back and circle them. If they were confusing for you when you check in with your teacher this week, it's a great time to go over these math problems, and your teachers can help you with more strategies to solve. Awesome. So tomorrow you'll watch another math video, and if you are able to print out the papers, then that's great. If you're not, that's okay too, because you can just do all of this work on scrap paper like you did today. If you have any questions at all about where to find these papers inside the distance learning folder, reach out to your teachers tonight today so that they can make sure that you get all the materials that you need and you know how to access that distance learning folder that was shared hopefully with all of the families in the very beginning of all of this. Awesome. Any questions at all, reach out to me, reach out to your teachers, and we will see you tomorrow.